So, thank you so much, everybody, for participating this afternoon in the final sessions. It's really fitting that the last panel today is on impact. All funders of cancer research want to ensure that our research is making an impact across the spectrum of cancer research, from biology to treatment, control and survival. We're really delighted to have a great panel of speakers today who are going to talk about impact from conceptual frameworks, under perspective, wider impact at a policy level, and how to tell the story of the impact of research for patient and public benefit. So our first speaker today is Connie Tang. Connie is the Director of Strategy and Development at Research Impact Canada, building institutional capacity for knowledge mobilisation, and she's an active advocate for women seniors and newcomers to Canada. And as for all of the other speakers, you can see the whole biography using the QR code in your agenda. So I'm going to hand over to Connie.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. It's always nice to check after lunch, right? So my name is Connie, and I'm from Research Impact Canada. I won't bore you with what we are just yet. I'm going to actually hit on impact tools first. But something that might be a little bit unique about Research Impact Canada, unlike the folks in the firm, is we're actually not really focused on cancer specifically. So Research Impact Canada is agnostic of discipline, and we work mostly with academic members. And so we're mostly working with universities. We have a couple hospitals, a couple mini funders, and nonprofits as part of our network. And we're really supporting kind of a trainer model and focused on institutional capacity, so organizational capacity around impact and impact work. So we like to say that our bread and butter is knowledge mobilization. That's what we're building capacity in. That's what we're doing. Folks here have heard about knowledge mobilization? It might be called knowledge translation, knowledge transfer, knowledge exchange. Hands up, hands up, hands up. Come on. Amazing. So I won't, go into full detail about what we define knowledge mobilization, but because we speak to mostly a lot of university partners and community partners, we like to talk about knowledge mobilization as any method or ways that you're doing work together to bring these folks in the same space. That might be a different definition from what you've heard. We're not get into definition soup here, but that's really how I like to think about it as well, is from either the community side or the research side. It's really about bringing those folks together in the same space, whether that be the same physical space or the same meeting where we're at, in order to do co-produced, bi-directional, mutually beneficial research and work together. So I'm going to throw it over to the room. I'd love to hear like two people. So I will pick on randoms. Is any examples that you've heard in the past today or yesterday of some really great knowledge mobilization work, whether it be from your own organization or just from today, yesterday? Maybe really great knowledge mobilization is just knowledge mobilization. Yes.
With the 3CT and EDI toolkit framework and sharing it, it's use an impact.
Absolutely, 100%.
Nominate the Komen one.
Pardon?
I nominate the Komen one.
Okay, Komen, yes.
The Acceleration Consortium Living Lab AI application.
Amazing. Okay, so I didn't have that I missed that presentation, but I think you're absolutely right in that mostly consortiums, frameworks. I know we had talked about patient advisory boards. All of these things and more are certainly mechanisms or models of knowledge mobilization work. Something that I have to admit, at Research Impact Canada, we mostly work with social sciences and humanities researchers and staff who work with those researchers. But at the University of Ottawa, a researcher who was in cytology was doing some really cool work in cancer-related fatigue in patients, and so creating kind of this 4-week intervention of psychoeducation, behavioral change, CBT, exercise protocols to really address cancer-related fatigue. And the way that she incorporated knowledge mobilization into her work was really inspiring. There was a patient advisory model, patient advisory group. There was really strong engagement of, not just clinicians, but also cancer survivors, from the beginning throughout the development of intervention and even delivery of intervention. And certainly one of those partners that had been on board in the beginning was the Ottawa Cancer Foundation. And now I think the Ottawa Cancer Foundation is delivering this intervention for free. So just something that, we had heard throughout our network, and of course, many more examples that you guys have experienced firsthand, more than I would know. So that's really what we're talking about, knowledge mobilization. And I'm going to talk about a couple tools at Research Impact Canada. Now, Research Impact Canada, some of them we created. I'll talk about 3 tools. 2 of them our founder, David Phipps, had co-produced. But one of them was from one of our partners, University of Calgary, because that's what this session's about, tools and approaches. So we're going to talk about tools first. So the first tool that I'll talk about is called the Impact Literacy Workbook. And this Impact Literacy Workbook is really, it's like 7-8 pages, which sounds long, but it's mostly blank, and it's fill in the blank of really figuring out how can you get individual researchers or staff or folks to be on the same page in understanding of what impact really means. So I don't know if this is something you encounter in your own organizations. Certainly something we encounter in some of our work with a lot of our partners is you might have 1 or 2 staff at the organization who knows what impact means, but getting other researchers on board, getting other folks to really see themselves to be able to do impact, see themselves in their role to see impact is a constant challenge. So what we found in terms of using this Impact Literacy Workbook is it's really helpful to just help frame the problem and then frame the impact, or what we call solving the problem. And so then we get into some of the nitty-gritties of indicators, evidence, your stakeholders, beneficiaries. But this Impact Literacy Workbook, I think, is what do I say? It's kind of like the thing to help bring people along to really be able to create, hopefully, a pretty robust knowledge mobilization or impact plan. The second tool that we use and that we use at Research Impact Canada is called the Institutional Health Check Workbook. And this tool and the previous tool that I just showed were both co-developed by David Phipps at York University and Dr. Julie Bailey at University of Lincoln. So the Institutional Health Check Workbook is really more rich bread and butter in the sense that we're really focused on the institution, on the organization, as opposed to individual researchers or projects. And so Institutional Health Check is really a tool that we use to work mostly with senior leadership, but not always, on how do we create an impact-friendly environment within an organization. So hopefully this may or may not be helpful to you, but there are a couple of things that we found really helpful, which was we start off with commitment. If your organization wants to be impact and be impact ready, you can't just be like, you want to create impact, comms department, go, grants, go, there needs to be commitment of resources, of funding, of staff, of training. And so we really like this workbook goes through kind of like, how do I say this, explicitly calls out, you need to have some of these commitments in place in order to be impact ready. Another thing that we talk about is connectivity, really talking about how do we know the roles of who plays in your organization in this impact story. Clarity in terms of clarity of vision, what are we trying to work towards for impact, competencies, skills needed. And so this has been helpful because sometimes some of the folks we talk, we're like, great, you've convinced us, we'll hire someone. What do we hire for? What is an impact worker? What is a knowledge worker? And so we kind of list out a couple of those key skills and competencies that would be helpful if you're going to have this type of role in the organization. And of course, into co-production as well. So the Institutional Health Check Workbook, in terms of how Research Impact Canada has mostly delivered it thus far, it's to mostly organizations, and we tend to work with someone from usually a quite new knowledge broker, impact team, staff person, and we ask them to bring on a member of their senior leadership, and both of them kind of attend a workshop by us. And we hope that there's a little bit of that balance of having leadership on board to really support this, as well as staff who they felt can really move some of that work. And the third and last tool that I'll talk about today is the Impact Assessment Toolkit. This was developed by the University of Calgary, and it follows the brief self-assessment model. But really, it tells, what I like about this tool is that, first of all, it's very easy to use. It's plug and play. Unlike maybe our workbook, which is a bit of a plan, you go through them, you create a plan. This is like, you got a matrix, you got a portrait, and it helps tell both the quantitative and qualitative side of the story. Now, granted, I don't know that it's been used for a lot of cancer research. My experience at the University of Calgary is that it has mostly been used with social science and humanities researchers, but hopefully there's something there that would be. So those are kind of the three tools that I wanted to bring forward that I'll talk about. If you're interested in any of them, they are all available for free on our website. There's also the link on the PDF at the bottom, but if you can't be bothered to click on the link, if the link doesn't work, search impact.ca resources, you'll find it all there, along with a whole host of other things. That being said, I'll do like a quick 2-minute spiel on who Research Impact Canada is. We're a pan-Canadian network with actually some folks from the UK. I shouldn't just say just pan-Canadian. 34, 35 institutions with the goal of maximizing this impact of academic for public good. And again, we're really focused on training the staff at these organizations to build up institutional capacity. So our current members, we have a whole suite of members here, mostly universities, but also simply call out that we have Ontario Shores, the Centre for Mental Health Sciences, as well as the Royal and Mental Health Hospital based in Ottawa as part of our network. And really what we do is, like I said, we build this institutional support. We want to help researchers demonstrate the impact of the research. And maybe the most important function of us, I think, is that we facilitate this community practice. I've heard community of practice been thrown around. I think maybe stole it a little bit from the health community. I know it's been a long-standing thing, but for us, the community of practice is that, you know, knowledge brokers, impact folks, grant facilitators, community engagement folks at these institutions often are solo operators, or if not solo, are very small team. And so what we like to do is probably similar to the ICRP, is bring all these folks together to connect, share best practices. Best practices is general, share better practices with each other, commiserate, and like I said, co-develop some of the tools. So like I said, University of Calgary developed a tool with us. We have some really great institutional strategy, like how do you create an institutional strategy for impact, University of Ottawa. And so we really work with universities to create some of their tools for their own organization and then broadly share with their network. We have lots of modules, webinars, resources, toolkit. If any of you may be interested, or any of your folks at your organization may be interested in learning some of these knowledge mobilization skills and competencies. God, that's a long name. But we have, again, free online e-modules on infographic design, storytelling, planning accessible meetings. We have one launching in the next couple months on Indigenous storytelling, and we do a lot of webinars, sources, and so on. Another thing I'll just say is we create Mobilize Youth, which is a training for knowledge mobilization that's open to everyone. And we also have the Canadian Knowledge Mobilization Forum if you're interested in learning more about knowledge mobilization, if this is something that you'll do. Again, this is sector agnostic. And so it's June 19th to 21st this year in Montreal. So come join us and rejoindre à Montréal, c'est vraiment belle ville. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of focus on attendee presentations and less on keynote speakers. With that, this is my contact. You're more than welcome to email me anytime. I'd love to chat more and learn more about what you guys do. The other thing I'll say is Research Impact Canada is currently writing up an application for kind of cross-Canada, pan-Canadian knowledge mobilization training. And that's something we're actively working on. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about in terms of what pan-Canadian bilingual knowledge training could or look like and want to inform that, then yeah, please do reach out.